everyone, welcome to Tunnel Barn Farm, and we're going to be filming a live match for you today. Now, we're not too far away from where we filmed our sort of meat masterclass, trying to figure it out, peg 19 on house, and it's split over house and top today. So a little bit different than where we were last time. Now, just update as such, more the weather than anything else. It's been so up and down, and the last 2 nights we've had two really hard frosts. So what I was hoping to do was to be able to do our meat masterclass, come back, film a live match and talk about what we've learned and hopefully put that into practice. Now, bait wise, I've got me meat clag. Remember I said on our masterclass that I was going to put it through a mincer, so I don't want to touch it because it's horrific. It looks just like baby sick, doesn't it? It looks nasty, but I've got that with me. So that is the all in. So one thing that I do now, just with my stopwatch, I just set it, so now I know when I look down I've got my 5 hours. So my plan is, what is my plan? I don't know. Talking about the weather, when we filmed, trying to think now, it's probably about this time a couple of years ago when we was on new, caught really well loose feeding live maggots down the edge. Because of the weather, what my plan is, I'm going to feed a bit of ground bait down both edges. I'm just going to start across just feeding micros and expanders, same line down the edge, 2.5 foot across, 3 foot down the edge, and then I'm just going to throw a bit of meat down the middle. But today's pretty much sort of making it up as we go along. I haven't been here since before Cornwall, so probably 3 weeks at least. So with me ground bait, just 100ml of just our coarse ground carp pellets. And then what I'm going to do, I've just got a bit of tape on my pole just so I can feed, I know that I can feed my maggots nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed 100ml of ground bait down both edges, just so I've got a bit of bait there. And I don't know whether throwing live maggots on it or meat is going to be the best way, but at least if I've got a bit of ground bait in my peg, I've got something there just on the bottom. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep throwing just a few live maggots over it. And then we're going to start across and just sort of feel our way in, to be honest. So I'm a 2.5 foot rig. Now what I'm going to have to do, when I spoke about my glasses, when it's all sort of broken light, I'm going to have to put them on now because otherwise I can't see my flow. I just feel rude having them on whilst I'm talking to you. So that's better. And that way I can see me bristling my float. So I'm just going to start off with just a nice 4mm expander. Just get my disgorger ready as well. Just my medium pot. Just with a few micros in it, and then sort of feel my way into it. Now what's nice here is I've plumbed up with basically the same mark on my pole for across and in the edge, so that way I can just tap a few micros on each of my lines, and I'm just going to sort of feel my way into it. Now I've spoken to a few of the boys that fished yesterday, Rich in particular, and he was on 13 on canal, and he's the sort of meat master here, and he was saying for the first, after 2 hours, he only had 4 fish. So with my meat line, I'm just going to I'm not going to feed it straight away because I don't want to start feeding too much bait if it's fishing quite difficult to start with. Unlike maggots, with our maggots, they're sort of crawling away and everything's eating them. I just want to sort of look around and just see what's being caught, because it might be a slow start. You know, we've had them 2 really hard frosts. Move my float over. We've had them 2 really hard frosts, and it might be a bit of a slow start for the first hour. But to be honest, I'm not sure what it's going to be like. The last time I drew here, when I was talking about in our meat masterclass, this is the peg that I drew. and I caught really, really well late short on me. That was the first time I'd done it. So I'm looking over, I've just seen the lad on 6 house lift his landing net up. So he's obviously netted a fish. But when you're out of tune with your F1 fishing, if you've not been for a little bit, the hardest thing is more the bait than anything else. So I thought, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start off what I think is safe. And a bit like when we filmed, it got better. You know, once that sun gets up and warms up the shallower water, it just seems to, you know, get a bit better. So with that flow, it's just sat just a little bit higher, to be honest, than what I'd like. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to lift my pole up. I've still got some micros in my pot, and I just want to just tap just the rest of my micros long down the edge, like so. So I know I've got some bait there. Just got a little number 13s. They're that small, there's slits in them. There's one. So again, not as many micros this time. It's going to be sort of, expect quite a slow start, and then hopefully when that sun picks up, just it's so noticeable here where we're sat, we're in the shade, and just, I see that's a million times better now. That way if I get any sort of sign on my float, I'm going to be able to see it. I know a fish has definitely come in my peg or not. Even if I don't catch it, if I've seen a little sign on my float. I was looking over there then, there's a bite. Ooh. Reed. Someone walking past. And that's a good sign. At least we've had a bite. I don't know. I thought the bottom would be quite clean here, to be honest. I suppose for all them reeds. And have a bit of dirt on that bottom. That's a good sign that I've gone in and had a bite. A few micros. Just let me rig up. If I start getting signs here quite quickly, you know, and it feels like there's a few fish in front of me, then I can be, you know, a bit more aggressive on the other lines. As in, you know, I might start throwing my meat a lot sooner if I'm getting plenty of signs and plenty of bites across. And I'll carry on throwing some live maggots in the edge. But after speaking to the boys yesterday, they said it was a really, really slow start. Never caught a lot first 2 hours. So the last thing that I want to do if it is like that is spend 2 hours, you know, throwing too much bait short. We've gone in, you know, missed a bite. So this is a good thing. Just opted for me pink hydro. It probably is a little bit soft, but it's just nice when you're shipping back. You haven't really got to worry about shipping back as such. So it's a nice fish to start with. Hook lovely. So that's a good thing. Now what I'm thinking is I'm just gonna, you know, I feel like I can feed something. So I'm not going to throw any meat down the middle just yet. If I can get bites across. A few micros, not many. Just hold my rig up. Drop it in. But yeah, I just want to feel my way into it. I'm not 1,000,000%. See if it stays like that. Just looked up and I've seen the lad on 31 net a fish. So it looks like it's going to fish quite well. It's a lovely start, isn't it? Keep tapping a few micros in. It's the end of me. It's the end of what I've got in my pot, so probably give it another 40 seconds. If I don't get a bite, I'll just shit back in and refeed. But I think what I'll probably do before I go back down there, I just want to have a look on my lines where I've been throwing some bait from the off. Because that way if I go in and I don't catch, I know I'll be doing the right thing, fishing, you know, that little bit further, tapping a few micros in. But to be honest, what I'm frightened of doing is, say again, an odd bite, an odd indication, an odd fish, go on my lines where I'm loose feeding, you know, and it's absolutely solid with them. So, get this one in, I'm just going to have a quick look, you know. Can always just go back to this. Nice little stocky. Pop him in the net. Pop that one down. Make sure they're in order. So I know what I'm like, the amount of times I've been fishing and picked up the wrong rig. So what I'm going to do, flick a bit of meat short. I don't want to go on that line just yet. I want to have a look. Have a look down the edge here where it looked like I had a sign straight away then. See where I've chose to fish, like it comes up a little bit, but I could still fish a little bit shallower both sides. But I've gone into about 3.5 foot to start with. What we're saying when we filmed our masterclass, you know, the boys that have been catching really well have been fishing a little bit away from the bank. But if it's good, I can always go up into sort of 3 foot, a little bit closer. To be honest, I was expecting that just to bury. Might be, you know, the other thing might be that instead of throwing live maggots down, they're literally throwing in you know, 3 or 4 bits of meat, but I feel like I've got my meat short line. I've caught so well doing this in the past that I didn't want to, you know, completely change everything. Not really what we're after, but so it just might be a little bit too early yet. I'd rather just have a quick look, and again, if I'm going in, you know, and I'm catching a few silvers, might need to just get the stones out of my pole. I might need to just start feeding a little bit more. Just try and throw my bait sort of on my flow and slightly downslope. So on this side, I want to throw them really on my float and slightly to the left. Whereas when I'm fishing down the left-hand side, on my float and ever so slightly to the right, just so most of your baits, you know, downslope of your rig. Because it does come up a little bit. So what I don't want to do is be throwing, you know, my bait to the right and the fish swimming past my float. Got more chance of foul hooking them that way. It might just be a case that, you know, I'm a little bit too early on this, but to be honest, I genuinely thought with how many bites I was getting across, and when I first went in the edge to my left. The thing is, your pellets, you know, you almost always get an instant response on them. Whereas with your maggots, it just takes a lot, you know, sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to prime it. Ducks at the moment are just starving. Don't really want to be throwing my bait when they're there. So just, you know, once they start eating, brilliant when you want to, you know, try and catch ref on the shallow, but a few maggots. Skimmer. Not really the ideal species, so I don't feel like there's any F1s there at the moment. So what I'm going to do, again, I know they're eating pellets and I know they're coming to them, so not like filling it in, but I just want to feed, you know, something with, you know, basically some pellets in it. I'm going to do the same on the left hand side. What I'm going to do is just have a quick drop on Meat Shore and just have a quick look, you know. So a lot of the lads that come here, they only ever fish short, so drop me rig in. So I've been flicking an odd little bit in, so it's more out of interest than anything else. I mean, if I'm totally honest, when I was fishing with my pellets, I genuinely thought in my head, I bet down that right hand edge there it's absolutely solid. That's what I was thinking. skimmer, I think. But it's not, so maybe we was, you know, doing the right thing, and it's just a little bit too early. But again, I'd rather know for sure. Like a few bits of meat. A few bits of meat. Just have a quick look. I mean, I'm sure, especially in this line, I'm sure this will be really, really good later on. The fact that we've, you know, caught some nice F1s across, the fact that we've caught some nice F1s down the edge, it didn't take long to start getting bites. Just feel like when they want to feed, I'm sure we'll go on this a bit later on, and it'll be really, really good. Not like something just moved across then, a little ripple of something, but I'm probably just going to have literally maybe 3 or 4 minutes on this line. But normally when, you know, you go on it, especially once you've primed it for a little bit, if there's something there, it don't normally take very long. Before you get a bite. It's just sort of gone quite bright at the moment. You can just feel the sun, you know, coming across the wall. Come on. You can feel the sun, or see it more, just coming across a little bit. That looked like an F1. So. Just try and be shrewd. That's what I've got to keep thinking. I'm so used to, with my maggots, when I'm throwing bait here normally. Now when you're feeding your maggots, you can feed but even if I don't hook an F1 here, on both my lines I've gone in and I've been getting bites, so I know when I, you know, have another go down the edge or across, I know there's fish present on both my lines, so I can carry on feeding. So what I'm going to do, I'll just carry on. Say we're, you know, just an hour and 47 minutes in, so we've got loads and loads of time. But I'm just probably going to have another 5 minutes on this, and then I'm going to go back in the edge, if I don't hook an F1, that is. And then what we do, we'll probably have a catch up, you know, in another hour's time. And hopefully, you know, I'll be on one of these lines that I can throw some bait on, and we'll be catching a few F1s.